Hello, folks. I thought I might talk a little bit about first person shooters today. You see, the first person shooter was one of the first genres of games that I became properly obsessed with. It all started back in primary school when a friend of mine gave me a 3.5-inch floppy with Wolf 3D on it. And he'd zipped the whole game on there, not just the shareware first chapter, but the whole of it. I remember as soon as I started playing it, I fell in love with it almost instantly. It was something really new to me that I hadn't seen before. I loved the level design, I loved the graphics, I loved that there was violence in it, and it just really sparked my curiosity in terms of that genre of game. Moving on from that, I remember when Blakestone came out, which was made using the same engine, but it was a slightly different game. It had, well, to me, it was a bit better. It had varied enemies, it had a sort of sci-fi type theme to it. There were monsters and aliens and things. And I put a considerable number of hours into playing that as well. Moving on from that, I can remember very clearly when my friend got a laptop that could run Doom. And I used to just sit watching him play it, and I was like, this game is so cool. It was gritty, it had or even more gore than Wolf 3D probably, and it was where, games started to get quite atmospheric. And moving on from Doom was Quake, which was even more atmospheric and had the kind of gothic elements to it. That was a game that I didn't actually play that much, but when Quake 2 came out, that was when I really started to get into first-person shooters, and specifically into multiplayer. Now, I did play Quake 2 a little bit online. I had a dial-up 56k modem, so it was really, really laggy from what I can remember. And so as a result, I bought the same game on the PS1, and I would play it with a multi-tap, just, 4 friends on one screen. And I really, really loved that. We used to just spend our Friday nights, me and say 4 or 5 friends, just playing Quake 2. We'd have tournaments, we'd just sit there for hours. I can remember very clearly playing Quake 2 so long that my eyes just felt really sore. And I've gone back recently and revisited it. It is quite painful on the eyes. It's a very pixelated looking game. And then when Quake 3 came out, that was an even bigger improvement on the Quake model. And that was when I went back to online gaming. I used to play the Insta-Gib mode, where pretty much it was like, pfft, you're dead. We used railguns, it was a one-hit kill, and it was really fast-paced. Somebody would move, you would either kill them straight away or you would die. And it was very fast turnover. And I can remember that I played that enough so that the game was pretty much in my muscle memory, I didn't have to think, I would just react. And I got really good at it, and I played it for a number of years actually, and carried on playing it even after, it wasn't so popular. I don't know how it was for you guys, but I remember that when I was at school, people were divided into kind of 2 camps. You either were in the Quake camp or the Unreal camp, and I did try playing Unreal a little bit, but I just couldn't get used to it. It felt too different to the Quake that I was used to. It was really fast-paced, and I don't know. As a result, I just never really got into the Unreal games, and I still haven't played them to this day. Other games that are worth a mention from back in the past were games like Duke Nukem. That was so influential. It had not just the fun gameplay, but it also had that character with the attitude. Duke Nukem, just the badass. All of those hilarious quotes, and he said a few naughty things which made us want to play it. And of course, I have to mention the strip club scene, which, if you've looked back on recently, is hilariously pixelated. But boobies are boobies. And kind of in a similar vein was Shadow Warrior, which is another really great game that was so violent. It also had some of that humour that we saw in Duke Nukem, and I played that an awful lot as well. There were other really big games that I wasn't quite as into as everybody else, but that I appreciated. Half-Life should deserve a mention, and I also played quite a bit of Counter-Strike, though not as much as my brother, who was really obsessed with Counter-Strike. So, kind of mentioning all those things, it's a bit odd then that now I'm just not that into first-person shooters. I hardly ever play them. I've gone from thinking they're like the greatest things in sliced bread to feeling sort of meh about them. And I think part of that is that the market is so saturated with FPSs. There's, even when a new one comes out, I just think it doesn't look that different from anything else. Fine, the graphics might be a bit better, or the protagonist might be a bit more badass, but they all just look very derivative to me, and I can't seem to get into them. The last first-person shooter they actually bought that was almost recent was The Darkness on the 360. And I bought that because I thought it was doing something new. It had the evil power, the possession, the kind of dark thing, the staying out of the light. And I thought, yeah, that's actually something that's taking the genre in a new direction. But since that, I've barely touched the genre at all. And I know there are so many online games like Battlefield, and they look sort of cool to me, but they're just not thrilling me or impressing me. I've basically got disillusioned with the genre. Now, I've got a few games in mind to play that may make me fall in love with it again. Far Cry, for example, looks like it combines first-person shooting with exploration, with great graphics, with an adventure game type feel. And that's the next on my list to check out. But I think it's a shame that kind of as a genre, I think it needs to do something new. Something new to impress the disillusioned person like me. Or maybe I just want to go back to the good old days of Quake 2 and the multi-tap. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you later and have a nice weekend.